Okay, so to do the turnaround for your character's face, the first thing you need is a ruler. If you don't have a ruler, what I'm using today is a separate blank sheet of paper. We're not actually measuring things, so I really just need a straight edge. So I'm folding this piece of paper so it's a little bit thicker. Now I have my own homemade straight edge. Okay, to do the turnaround of your character's face, the first thing you're going to want to do is draw your character normally. So if you usually draw your character's face from the 3/4 angle, then I want you to do that. If you usually draw your character's face from the front, then I want you to do that. So for me, I'm going to leave some space. I'm going to draw all the way to the left side of my paper. And I'm going to start with my basic shapes. So here's my circle. And I like to draw the 3/4 angle, so that's what I'm going for. You can do front or 3/4. I'm just kind of mapping things out where things are going to go. And from here, I can start to build my little character's face. There's his eye and his cheek, his chin, and his jawline. And give him cutesy eyes. And he's going to be kind of looking up at us a little bit. And there we go. Foreshortening means that this eye is going to be a little bit squashed because we have a 3/4 angle. Let's give him some eyebrows and his nose, nostril, so he can breathe. And he's got a cute little smile. Let's put his ear on. Some detail work in his ear. And I'm going to give him a hairstyle, which is going to be kind of spiky. There we go. A little bit more detail on this side. I'm going to give him a little cowlick in the back. And I'm going to do some of the hair on the back of his head. And I'm going to add his neck on. And some shoulders. The very beginnings of shoulders. Finish up his hair in the back of his head. And I'm going to give him like a t-shirt collar. Okay. So once you have this, you need to use your straight edge or your ruler. And you're going to line things up. You want to draw the straightest, lightest lines across your paper that you can. So I'm starting with the circle because I want to fit that circle in there. And I want to make sure that my ruler's straight all the way across. So you want the same width on the left side of the paper as you have on the right. From there, you're going to decide what's important. Same size, that looks good. If it's tilted, it's going to look wonky. You can see this side's bigger than this one. So make sure it's straight. And for me, the important parts of his face are going to be his hairline. I'll probably do the top of his eyebrows, the corner of his eye, I'm going to do the most pointiest part of his nose. And I'm going to do the bottom of his mouth right in the middle. And I'm going to do his chin. All right. The next step is to redraw that circle. So I need to make sure that I remember which line is which. That's my circle line, so that's where it has to end. Fit that circle right in there. And that line that I have that divides his face in half in the 3/4 view, it's now going to be all the way on the side. And this line here, this is where his jaw is. So I'm looking back a lot more at my original drawing to lay things out. So I want to make sure that everything's at the right spot. And I am going to start with I'm going to start with his eyebrows and his eyes and his nose, because this line goes all the way down from his brow line into his nose. There's the pointy part of the nose sticking out, matching up with that line. Make his lips look a little bit 3D, because remember, this line here is his mouth. And then his chin has to end on that bottom line. So I'm going to go ahead and give his face a little bit more definition in the front. This is the corner of his eye and the bottom of his nose. There we go. Give that same detail. I'm going to give him his little bit of a smile, which comes up just a little bit. And then I'm going to refill in his eye. I'm going to put his eye on. So I'm drawing what his eye would look like from the side view. And his eyebrow at this line up here. And then I'm going to fill in the jaw. Fill in his jawline over here. Okay, and then I'm going to put on his ear. And it comes to just below this line here. Some detail. And then the last thing I'm going to do right now is put on his hair, which again, I'm going to be looking back at my first drawing more to see what his hairstyle is doing. And I'm starting with almost the middle of his face. So I'm starting with this piece here and then going to the second piece and my third piece that comes right above his eye. And then these little side pieces that come right in front of his ear. And he's got a couple of pieces down here. And that cowlick in the back of his head. Well, I'll do this little piece here on the side because you'll see a little bit of it. And then his cowlick on the back of his head is going to go just to this line. And I need to start filling in the back of his head. But here, so his head is actually going to come around a little bit. This is where the back of the head comes down. So I need to make sure I know where that's going. That way I can fill in his hair. So he's got a little piece that sticks out here. I'm going to give him his neck. And the back of his neck is going to be here. And you can see his shoulder comes up almost to the line I used for his chin. So I'm going to make sure that that's where it goes again. Same hairstyle. I'm looking back and forth to make sure that things are lining up. And then the very last thing I'm going to do over here is the back of the head. So I now have him from the front view and the side view, and everything lines up. And the back of the head, I need to start with that same circle, and I'm going to draw this line straight down the middle. So this is to divide the face in half. This should probably look pretty familiar. We are going to make it almost a proportionate head. So I'm fitting in his jaw and his chin, and I'm doing this all very lightly. I want his neck to be about the same width, so go with that. I'm going to put his ears on from the back. I'm looking back and forth. That's pretty good. From the back of the head, I'm really only going to see hair, mostly. So I'm going to figure out what his cowlick looks like from the back of his head. And then I'm going to start to figure out what all that detail looks like from the back. There's that little flippy part. And on this side, I'm going to bring it out a little bit. And I'm going to follow the head shape. And his hairline is going to end right around where I drew that chin line before. You can see it comes almost all the way down. And I'm going to give him his little flippy here. Comes around his ears, and I'm going to redraw his ears a little bit because they're still there. And then I'm going to go ahead and give the back of his head just a little bit of detail. Fill in this ear. I'm going to fill in his neck and his shoulders just a bit. And you can see that this is where his shirt collar is going to go on the back. And bring his other shoulder down. And there you have it. His head goes all the way around.